Welcome back to the program. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Today on the program, we intend to look at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that is the EFCC, and its fight against corruption. Now, this agency was created in 2023, of course, to investigate financial crimes such as advance fee fraud, 419, as it was known then, as well as other corrupt practices. But the question is the EFCC still living up to the billing as the name implies and as the bill which established the commission or the agency stipulates, or is the EFCC now acting outside those things that it was created for? Hopefully, at the end of this conversation, we'll be able to find a balance as to what the EFCC is currently going through. Because at the beginning of the conversation, remember Jibola also said, perhaps they also need to start. What were we talking about that you mentioned the EFCC? The crypto.
Yes, Naira speculators.
All right, so because they also now go after money spenders, party attenders and all of that. Are those also those things that the FCC should be doing as we speak? And of course, the case of the former governor of Kogi, the White Lion, as is widely called, is also still trending. Where is that case alongside the EFCC? We have joining the conversation today a lawyer, Bosun Osifowora. Thank you for being here on the program today.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
So if we trace it back to 2003 when EFCC was created and as to what the EFCC is doing at the moment, are they still on track?
Very much.
Very much. Within the confines of the law. Because you are smiling like...
No, the most serious note, they're on track. You know, somehow Nigerians have a way of just using one thing to define people. Yesterday, I was on a platform and somebody was like, do we still need the courts? The courts are compromised. So, and I'm like, in fact, he actually tagged me and said, are you proud of the courts in Nigeria? So by the time I outlined all the things that the court does and how people's lives are woven around the court, it was like, I said, yes. So it's the same thing for EFCC. You know, the whole Bobrisky thing and, you know, going after money
the
spenders.
Cubana and all
yes,
the
you know, kind of like people, I've seen people say all kinds of things, but funny enough, you need to see the EFCC Act. It's wide and it covers a lot of things.
Okay.
So it allows for them to do all these things and they're on track. Now, if we say they're on track, basically what's their mandate?
Right.
The mandate basically is to go after financial crimes. Now, financial crimes range, financial crime has taken different dimensions these days.
True.
Once upon a time, like you said, we all knew about 419 as the only thing, you know, advance fee fraud, which was based on, you know, the criminal law section 419. That's where the thing actually came from. Now, but now you've seen with the advent of crypto and other forms of currencies, you know, and the fact that boys are not sitting down, thinking, they're not smiling, coming up with all kinds of things every day, you know, from petty crimes to international level, you know, this, people are coming up with all kinds of ingenuity with regards to stealing and getting funds off people. But you see, beyond Bobrisky and White Lion, the EFCC is doing a massive job, massive job, because in fact, they're rebranding this country. It's outside this country that you appreciate them. You know, they say that a prophet is not without honor, except in his own house. So that's basically what's happened to EFCC.
Okay.
Though we've seen one or two moves that were questionable, but at the same time, that is not enough to define them. There's more to them than using Bobrisky and all that.
As the yardsticks for.
Okay, approach is key in carrying out any assignment. Since the inception of this administration, would you say that you have seen anything new in the approach of EFCC in tackling corruption? And like you rightly raised, people have criticized them for engaging in media trial most of the times. And there are some high-profile cases that Nigerians are really expecting EFCC to deal with, but it appears they are chasing shadows instead of going after the so-called big men who have embezzled money in the country.
All right, let's start like this. Nigeria is a fantastic country.
How fantastic?
Very fantastic. And Nigeria is a place where corruption thrives. Before we were born, at least I'm a 70s child, and we've been hearing about corruption since the 60s, even pre-independence. And if you look at it, people have done everything to remain in power and to sustain themselves in power and to allow corruption to fester in this country. And people do everything within their capacity. It's become a systemic thing. Now, so in a system where you have people brazen about corruption and using everything to fight back when you want to tackle corruption, the same EFCC was able to convict about 3 governors. And you saw what happened in the long run. 2 got state pardon, presidential pardon, and then 1 had some magical dimension at the Supreme Court, and he was let off the hook. And those people are back in the system. Now, so if you look at this kind of arrangement, it's going to be pretty difficult. I mean, I'm being realistic now. You're in a system, you have convicted the people that once upon a time were not, people thought you won't be able to convict them. You got them, and then through some magic, they were let off the hook. That's going to demoralize you. That's going to make a mess of what you're doing. And at the same time, the flip side of it is that these people are back into the system. They will perfect the act. They're not just back in the system, they are back in governance. They are no fools. They are intelligent people. They will put everything in place to frustrate an agency like EFCC. That's basically what you have going on. So it's going to be very difficult to have EFCC. You know, people say, well, all they do, they pursue Yahoo boys. If they can get convictions at that level, they can get it at the higher level. They've done that, and we've seen how the thing panned out. So it's no-brainer to know that there's something fighting them. The system is fighting them. So when people try to talk them down, I just look at them that you don't know what they do. You need to go to their office. You need to see under conditions with which they work. And, you know, if you compare them to their counterparts outside this crime, you find that what is at their disposal to fight this crime, it's minimal compared to what their mates outside this crime has. And at the end of the day, they still get convictions. They still try to make sure that things go well. Now, people have accused them of media trial. You saw the EFCC chair come out and say some things that went viral. It was just a pure case of somebody letting out his frustrations. Because, I mean, an ex-governor enjoyed immunity for 8 years. They couldn't touch him. Now he's out of power. Come and explain yourself. You're getting interim orders. You're getting all kinds of orders. What is the thing?
What does that say about our judiciary as well?
All right. Now, see, let me come home. That's my stuff. Now, see, the thing is this. The law is the law. The law is there. The law is clear. The law protects the individual. In fact, the way the law is couched is that the law will allow 99 criminals to go free than 1 innocent person to be wrongly convicted. Now, so what you now have is that you have people who write on that and then circumvent the system. Basically, your rights are protected under the Constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended. And from section 36 down to 45, you have the fundamental rights. And then you can go to court and say, I'm being hounded, this, you know, I'm not given fair hearing. The courts will protect you with certain orders. These are the interim orders. So what we now find out is that most people who leave governance, they quickly run because they know what they've done. The facts are there, the facts are clear. So what they do is they try to use the instrumentality of the law to protect themselves. That's what you have there now. But you know, sometimes it can be frustrating. That's basically what has happened on the part of EFCC. That's why they went after the man. He was brandishing all kinds of orders against them. But at the end of the day, they had to call themselves back and say, you cannot enforce the law by breaking the law. Right. That's why they pulled back. It's not so. That's why the man, when granting the interview, he had to now come out and say, he just stopped short of saying he's frustrated. But you could see what he was saying. I mean, this was a man who didn't pay salaries for 13 months. but he knows how to pay school fees in advance for his children.
Right.
You didn't think about people eating in advance. But you know, so that's why it's not like his media trial. It's just that we're telling the people that we've done our best.
Okay.
But this system is stifling us.
Right.
That's basically what has played out.
So, Bosun, if we look at the system, I mean, you've talked about the fact that Nigeria is a dynamic place. A very special country that last weekend a list emanated, and everyone had thought that list was from the EFCC, only for the EFCC to come out late Sunday night to deny that that list did not come out from them, meaning that there's some people somewhere who also realized that at least some ex-governors had embezzled funds, and EFCC was still investigating them. And so if you look at the enormous responsibilities before the EFCC and the system, the Nigerian system, and the fact that, yes, it could be frustrating, does it mean that the system or Nigerians generally are also not giving EFCC the right support needed to fight this many corruption issues?
Well, EFCC doesn't really need your support like that. I mean, when I mean support, you know, people come and rant, people say all kinds of things against them. It's expected.
Could it be a bait?
You mean the list that came out?
Right.
It's not a bait. You see, you don't have to work in such agencies to know how corruption works in this country. You know how much money comes into a state. At least, let's look at the FAC, for example, the federal allocation. You know, it comes in. If you look at what comes in and you look at the development in each state, it's no, you don't have to, your maths doesn't have to be as good as mine. I'm bad at maths, but your maths doesn't have to be good to know that something is missing somewhere. Then you see people come into governance who never had a second address, wouldn't have any meaningful thing doing before. They leave the office and they have a lot of things to their name. They have monuments to their name. Where did they get it from?
Okay.
Now, so it's easy to put it together, but you see, the way it works is that with law, you have to come and prove. Because he who has sat must prove. If you say this person has stolen, you have to come and prove. You can't just say, I'm saying a designer suit on him, he didn't wear it yesterday. That is not, that's spacious. It's at the realm of speculation. You still have to come and prove. That's where the law is different. You know, back in the day when, during the traditional era, you know, we have things with which we prove, but this time around,
you cannot come and swear by
you can't come and swear by all of those things. So you have to come and prove that this person has actually, you know, committed infractions and done this. But it's not hard to prove that corruption is rife, corruption is everywhere, and you can almost touch it.
Okay.
In the system. So that's basically what it is. So for the list, they've said it didn't come from them, but the average person can actually draw up that list. It's no brainer.
Right.
Okay. All right. You know, corruption is one of the major factors affecting the growth of good governance in Nigeria. We have seen several public office holders abuse their office to enrich themselves. How much of support can our financial institutions give to the EFCC in tackling corruption? Because those are the channels used by this political class to siphon money.
Unfortunately, most of these financial institutions, they're regulated. But you know, because they're private institutions and they're out to make profit, that's why you find out that some of them collaborate and circumvent. They collaborate with this corporates and then circumvent the system. But somehow, they're supposed to be whistleblowers for this kind of thing. But if you're in business to make profit, someone has stolen funds and brought it to you. What you think first is your own profit before you, it's, as long as he didn't steal your money. That's how the average, you know, financial institution thinks. Now, so wherever he gets his money from, you can't query all customers. That's how, what they pretend to do. But they're supposed to be whistleblowers. There are provisions in the law that says when somebody deposits a certain amount, it should be flagged. But you don't find that. At the end of the day, is when these investigations by EFCC starts, you now see billions and and gazillions, you know, attached to people's names. And you wonder,
I remember the case of the former governor of Ekiti State,
Ayodele
Fayose, and the connivance that he enjoyed from Zenith Bank then.
Yeah, well, the case is still in court.
So, lawyers. The case is still in court.
Until the court comes out. You know, some of us, you just talked about not doing media trial. So let's just leave it until the court comes up.
So if we take a cue from what Ayodele Fayose did at that time, I mean, the EFCC were waiting for him for his tenure to end, and immediately it ended. He went to the EFCC by himself and submitted himself for all forms of questioning, and like you said, that case is still in court. But we didn't see that in the case of Yaya Bello, which automatically meant that he, you know, for some reason also saying a whole lot of things by not going there by himself. But, I mean, so he's no longer under immunity, I mean, he's not as ordinary as I am. Ex-governor, there's no immunity anymore. So again, this goes back to the system and protecting individuals. So now that, of course, the EFCC has retraced its steps from the court issues and all of that, how much would what would they be doing now to ensure that Yaya Bello is brought in for questioning?
All right, now what happens is this, or what happened in the case of Yaya Bello is that he got an interim order.
Okay.
It's interim. Now, but you know, you expect it to be very short. Sometimes it can be longer than necessary. But the fact is that this order at some point will still be vacated. And that's why the EFCC actually retreated and said, okay, we will wait out these things. Okay. Instead of, you know, breaking the law to enforce the law, we'll wait out these things. And then you saw also he is not resting. He has been open about, you know, if we go scriptural, like you said, you know, the scripture says the wicked run it where no man pursueth him. You know, so if you've actually got nothing, for me, I feel that if your name is immersed in such
you should want to clear
you should just come clear your name and all that. And then we've seen fellow governors, we've seen other governors say, go there.
Just go there.
In fact, we saw the EFCC chair come out and say that, see, I was going to give this man fair hearing. I mean, not fair hearing, a soft landing. And he said, come to my village, come to this, come to that. And, you know, he kept
even
playing
the Attorney General of the Federation said, go and ask
I don't know, we've all been to EFC. Though I go in my capacity to represent. But, you know there's
you don't have a case to answer.
Let me now tell you what happens. You know, normally when you go there with clients, I see this, there's this, not laughable, but let me just say the psychological part of this thing. When you go there, there's this fear on the inside of everybody that, hey, if they lock me up. But let me now tell you what happens. By the time the fear is at the point of, oh yeah, DO, detention order, go and put him behind bars or go and put him in the cell. Once they do that, by the second, third day, this same person will start playing with the same guys who were
detained him at first.
At the beginning, they were very it happens with everybody, even from the Yahoo boys to the ex-governors and what have you, ministers. Once they, you know, the fear is, they will detain me. Hey, my family has never been behind bars, you know, that kind of thing. Once you go in, you go there the next day or 2 days after.
Don't ask me to go.
No, no, you just find out that it's all play and they're all laughing because that fear has been broken. Maybe you wanted to put me there. Now I'm here. Oh, yeah. What is it? At the end of the day, you now realize that there's no more to this thing.
Especially if you do not have anything to hide.
Even at the worst, they will charge you to court. You have, under the Constitution, you have right to bail. To bail. So they will bail you, then you come for your case and prove your case. Then you can get the right legal team, and then you can trust lawyers to help you out.
May I quickly ask here that... well, you're not Yaya Bello's lawyer, but you are a lawyer. So who should his lawyers be telling him now as to why he keeps running if truly there's nothing to hide?
You see, most times lawyers tell clients the truth.
Are you sure?
I'm serious.
The truth that you want to hear, or the truth?
No. Let me break it down. Lawyers tell you the truth, but clients act funny. Look at what's happening in Lagos State. They were saying that they were demolishing houses on setbacks and everything. You think those people were not properly advised?
That's what they're saying.
Clients will tell you, can we find a way around it? So it's like that. You tell a client, Oga, let's go to those people. I have clients that are not even, they don't have positions and names like this. Let's go to EFCC. Let's go to the police. Let's see them. The longer we wait, you know, the more those people will feel agitated and, you know, they will come out for you and say, let me call this person. Let me do this. At the end of the day, you just complicate things. What can the lawyer do? I can't bundle him. And then mine is there to be paid. So
you think that is what is happening in the case of Yaya Bello?
I don't think any lawyer will tell Yaya Bello not to go there. In fact, your money starts counting when he goes there, and you earn more when he goes there. Now, so the average lawyer will tell you, let's go. Then you see these cells there, they're not for good, so
they're for human beings.
Don't scare me.
They were constructed for human beings.
I have seen people make better connections even in those places.
Are you for real?
I'm telling you, fact, for free.
But
you see, nobody wants to go there and make the kind of connections. You see, sometimes we go to big places, you say you want to, what do they call it? You want to network. Go to EFCC cell. The right network is there.
but how serious are we as a nation in tackling corruption? You know, you cited the case of those who were tried before now, and at the end of the day, they got presidential pardon. What do you think such things would do to the psyche of the officers and men of the EFCC?
All right, how serious are we? We're serious, but what we have is we have individuals who come up it's an epochal thing. Somebody will just come up in the next maybe 1, 5, 10 years. It comes out brazen, fighting corruption, then he goes. Then we go back to normal. Then another pharaoh will come out who doesn't know Joseph. Then he will fight. Then he dies. Then another one will come out. You know, that's why I said it's epochal now. But you see, what we need is to institutionalize this thing.
Right.
Because if you go abroad, if the prime minister or the president commits infractions, they won't look at him. We have not reached that level.
Right.
They will look at the law.
They will look at the law. The law is above everybody. Nobody is above the law. But here, the law is not above.
It's meant for the poor.
It's not really meant for the poor. It's meant for, sometimes, even the poor depends on who you know. You call, you make calls. If your vehicle is stopped on the road for taking, you call somebody. Instead of paying their fine, you call who you know.
Maybe I'll call Bimbo.
You think they didn't catch me too?
So you know, we still have that. So until we get to that level where, okay, I'll call Jibola now and say, Jibola, they've been pounding my vehicle. We say, Bosun, how much is it? 50,000. Let me give you the 50K. Rather than call their GM. Until we get to that level, then we're still just going to be struggling. We need to get to that level where these things are institutionalized.
And
so you know that even you, when you know you have done something wrong, you just submit yourself.
Right.
In fact, what I said at the sister station last week was that if somebody, there's something we need to do to our laws. If somebody has enjoyed immunity for 4 years, 8 years, there should be a twin part of the law that says that as you're finishing, go and submit yourself for clearance from those people. Right. I think that should come with it, so that we won't have to be chasing him and struggling. Then a lion is turning to a mouse, and you know, like
chasing
that.
the cats,
chasing the cats and everything. No, there should be some form of clearance. Right. Maybe once you're done, next 1 month, go there. There's no court who. It should be part of our laws. So it shouldn't be a case where you now go, why are you getting injunction? They've not come for you. You're getting injunction from being prosecuted. Then it's only in this country you see something like that. Right,
which means that you're already castigating yourself even before any.
Exactly.
Of course, the EFCC chair, Olukoyede, at a conference yesterday in Ghana, says part of what the EFCC is also doing at ensuring that the fight against corruption is meaningful, of course, involves preventive measures, technological innovations, and international collaboration. Let's come to the issue of international collaboration. I mean, here we are in this country when, what's this guy's name? Osh Poppy was arrested in Dubai, even though everybody, knew that he was someone like that. And so are we there yet? I mean, is the EFCC there yet where international organizations can actually lean on the back of EFCC
Very much.
to also facilitate arrests and cases.
Very much. No, that happens on a daily. You know, what you hear about the EFCC are celebrated cases. They work on a daily. They have cases where they expatriate people. I mean, they take people out
of the country.
There are instances where they also take people from abroad and continue the prosecution here. They do that on a daily.
Okay.
It happens. I mean, I'm very aware that they have. In fact, there's no way. The way crime is structured now, you can't do, except you want to just do a local vigilante kind of thing. Crime has gone beyond borders.
Right.
Now, so you need all kinds of collaborations with all kinds of countries and agencies.
Technology as
to
well.
make sure technological collaboration, physical collaboration, diplomatic collaborations, all those things come to play, because you find it that when somebody, like you mentioned Osh Poppy, if you look at where the crime was committed and who came for him, if there was no collaboration between the Dubai government and the American government, they wouldn't have picked him.
Right.
Now, so all those things, they exist here too. They exist here too, and we have cases where they've extradited people abroad, and also they brought people here. So it happens, but because EFCC is not a local champion.
It's not a local champion.
It's well connected.
It has international standing, and one which is also well in those countries celebrated. So
yes, let me tell you a case. I had a client back in the day, like about 12, 13 years now. He was caught in Dublin he had some funds on him that was more than the requisite amount he was supposed to go with. They collected the money and sent the money to EFCC. So back then, I had to now go to Abuja with him, and then had to go, and they sent him his money. They found out that it wasn't a case of money laundering. He was just an overzealous person who
wanted to carry his cash.
He wanted to carry his cash. So by the time they did all the investigation, they sent the money to EFCC. We went to Abuja, then they came to Lagos, and we gave accounts. And before we landed in Lagos, the account was credited. So it just shows you the kind of collaborative effort you're talking about. So it's there. It's been that was 12 years ago, and they've gone on to enter into all kinds of relations with other governments countries. and institutions.
But you raised a valid point the other time, talking about the condition of service of these officers. How much of help will the federal government do if they ensure that they enjoy better pay, better condition of service? Because some of these officers as well, when they are chasing criminals, they get lured as well. So what should we do as regards their condition of service to ensure that their minds, their heart is there when they are tackling corruption?
As for that, the biggest room in the world is room for improvement. You can always improve on the standard of living. Then one other thing I also feel that people in such agencies should enjoy is insurance, because they get killed. They lose staffs. Most of these agencies, they just don't come out. If you dig deep, if you go find out, they lose staffs almost, in and out. I don't want to say on a daily, but sometimes when they go for arrests like that, they see some get maimed, some get killed in the process. And so for me, I feel that for someone to wake up and have the energy, the drive to go and do the same job over and over again in the face of this stiff opposition, what you need is some form of insurance for that person. Because beyond just what you pay and salary increment, the man should know that as I'm going for this thing, if I lose my right arm or I lose my right eye, for example, I will still have something to fall back on.
Right.
Those are the things I think the government should put in place for people in such agencies, because that's what will give you the drive. Because if you know that as I'm going, if anything happens, nobody's going to come to my aid, nobody's going to come to my rescue.
You offered something.
Definitely. I mean, if you're not the stupidest person amongst your father's children, it's just natural to take something like that. So that's what government needs to do, because that's what will help them to resist this kind of thing. Because, for example, even same for not just them now, but
even
judiciary, even judiciary, because if you pay a judge $500K per month, and somebody is offering him $500,000 that he has never seen in his life, he can't even faint.
And then they'll wake him up and he'll still see the money there.
So you see, so those are things we need to look at, because at the end of the day, what the average person wants, the average Nigerian is not a thief. He doesn't want to steal like that. Everybody just wants security and a secure future. Because, you know, some people don't want 2, 3 houses. Not everybody wants that. You just want somewhere to retire, somewhere to stay, just a good life after this thing. So that's why you see people put hands on the till and want to take what doesn't belong to them. Because all they want to do, even look at this same man we're talking about, though that's what the EFCC said, that's why we can say, he's paying for his children's future.
I heard.
He hasn't gone to do party with the money. But I mean, it just shows you how the average, that's why people steal. I mean, I want to pay for their schools.
You want to take
I
care of the
want
future.
to take care of the future for them. So if he's no longer there, I mean,
he's secure.
He's secure. That's why people steal. With
other people's funds. All right, before we allow you go today, I know that a lot of Nigerians also are losing faith in the EFCC, like Jibola said earlier, thinking that most of the things they do are media trials. And, you know, oftentimes also Nigerians think that the EFCC are also selective in their fight. Yes, you do not work for the EFCC. You're not on the payroll of the EFCC, so you're not doing some kind of damage control for the EFCC. But for you as a lawyer who also works closely with the EFCC, what are those things that you think the EFCC also needs to step up to build confidence in the minds of Nigerians, especially in the fight against corruption?
All right. They need to come more in the media and let people know what they're doing.
Okay.
You know this Bello's case, initially everybody was like, they've come again, normal thing they do and all that. But by the time the man went on and reeled out what was happening, people have convicted Yaya in their minds because they saw that, come on now, it's too much. Like, you know, if I joked on the program, I said, you know the school that returned the money. I told someone that it's because the school has good financial setup. You know.
What if they've spent?
You know the school that as they collect money, they use it. If you go there,
the dollar is too much now.
No, some people, as you are bringing the money, they are doing different things with it. If you call, you can't find $1. You know, so for me, it's the EFCC actually needs to come out and let people know more what they do. In fact, if they tell you how much, you know, people feel they don't get convictions, they don't, you just need to go and see what they do. Then you know, I mean, some of us who represent clients there, we've seen their acts, we know how they perform, and we can tell you for free that they're working very hard, they're working tirelessly, and they're doing a fantastic job helping the image of this country, and with the right leadership, which they have right now, and a bit of support, you know, more than what they have from government, I think they will go on to become better at what they do. Though, there's also the angle where they too need to review some of their acts. A few things have gone wrong. You can't wish that away. You can't really wish that away. I mean, you can't, you know, they say in my language that there's no way you work and your head will not shake. You know, shake. You know, so it's like that. You'll find one or two things, but that does not define them. Let's look at them for who they are, what they've done, and I mean, it's good to just commend them. Okay, do you also think they should change their approach? I've seen a couple of stories wherein they barge into campuses and they started shooting because they were there to catch Yahoo boys. Well, that one, for me, I wouldn't condone that. I mean, they should, there are ways you review tactics. Sometimes they get high-handed. I mean, we can't rule out that fact, you know. And some of the things people say is that if you look at the way some of their counterparts operate abroad, you find that what you find out is all this, let's just say, abroad, what you have is they will get all the evidence against you. By the time you get to court, it's either you're asking for plea bargain or you just plead guilty and just you don't want to waste anybody's time. In this place, sometimes you find that they don't have the investigation is not complete. And they just come after you. And it also shows the kind of system we operate. Because sometimes if you want to finish gathering evidence, the money you can't find one couple. So as you are gathering it on the job, as we are doing it, we'll be catching ourselves like that. All of us will land in court, then you know we will find a way around it. So that's it. But they need to up their tactics as well. Like I said, the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. Everybody needs to improve, and we will have the kind of nation that we want.
All right, I think that's where we'll leave this conversation today. Thank you so much, Bosun Osifowora, for finding time to be here on the conversation.
Always a pleasure.
All right, that's the much we'll take here. And just like Bosun said, the EFCC is doing so much, but I guess Nigerians know so little about what the EFCC is doing. But we do hope that as time progresses, the EFCC will also blow its trumpet and allow Nigerians to see much of work that indeed they're doing. We'll take a quick